We are back, continuing to read the Mahaparinivana Sutra on page 66. Also, emancipation is not being oppressed. This may be contrasted with spring, when one walks in the heat, with summer, when one tastes what is sweet, and with winter, when one encounters the cold. In true emancipation, there is nothing of any kind that does not appeal to one's wishes. The absence of anything to oppress one may be likened to true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. As to non-oppression, we may take up the case of a man who, having greedily partaken of fish, drinks milk again. Such a man as this is not far from death. In true emancipation, there is nothing of the kind. If he obtains ambrosia or good medicine, worry leaves him. True emancipation is like that. Ambrosia and good medicine can be likened to emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. How can we speak of being oppressed or not oppressed? For example, a common mortal is arrogant and self-important, and he thinks, of all things, nothing can harm me. And he holds in his hand a serpent, a tiger, or a noxious insect. The destined time of death not coming, this person meets with an untimely death. In true emancipation, there comes about nothing of the kind. We say not being oppressed. This can be likened to a Chakravartin's divine gem, which kills all noxious insects, such as the dung beetle and the 96 noxious insects. As one comes into contact with the glow of this divine gem, all poison dissipates. Things are thus with true emancipation. All die away from the 25 existences. The annihilation of poison is analogous. Thank you. I knew it was not the word that I was. To true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, not being oppressed is like space, for example. Thus is emancipation. Space is comparable to true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, being oppressed is like holding a lamp close to dry grass. When it is too close, the grass catches fire. The case is thus, there is nothing of the kind within true emancipation. Also, non-oppressed is like the sun and moon, which do not come too close to all beings. Such is the situation with emancipation. It does not come pressing down upon beings. Non-oppression is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Teiko, I see your hand is up.
There's a definite context for what he's referring to as emancipation, to suggest that poison will not hurt you would not be the emancipation in this context. So can you further explain the context in which you were describing the poison?
The poison would be illusion. It's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's a metaphor, but explain how that would be applied. So a working context.
Okay, let me scroll up. So, okay, so you're okay. I see what your question is. So in Supreme, when we're practicing Supreme Bodhi, we have no thoughts that arise, and so when we come into contact with these things that are poisonous, or these things that are illusions, we can use Supreme Bodhi in order to uh, have those things fall away because they're just thoughts. And so when we're in Supreme Bodhi, they don't arise.
But
So
he points to a snake. He points to the poison from a snake. So he's talking about real poison. And if I may expand on this a little bit, rather than asking the question, I think can I venture to answer it?
yeah. If you have something to say, yeah, please do just say it.
Well, it does tie into what you're saying about it being a metaphor, indeed. So it's going back to the idea of a judgment about it. So poison would just be poison. So if a snake bit you, you would still be poisoned and it would hurt you, indeed. But the thinking about it is the ability to stop the inner chatter about judging it as this or that or the other thing is the emancipation.
Okay, I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, the commonality here is thought, like you were saying. So how is poison effective? How does poison affect the body? In the same way that thought is poison for the body. It's not to suggest that poison from a snake bite is not going to hurt you if you stop thinking about it. But then the idea of the fear associated with that expectation that it will hurt you would be the opposite of emancipation. Anybody medical will tell you that vital signs change when a patient becomes afraid.
Mm.
Anybody will. There's definitely a causality to the thinking that incarcerates us into the suffering associated with conditions.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're looking at here. And it becomes kind of messy because a lot of people will say that, well, this is just denial. You're denying that, things can hurt you. No. So to be very clear about that, and that's why Supreme Bodhi, to experience it, is really important, because once you experience it, then you can answer your own questions. If I get bit by a snake and I'm able to have Supreme Bodhi, how does that affect the outcome? And then you start to you can put it into context.
Yeah. Cool. That's good insight.
So that's what I'm, from all the vast experience I've had with the sutras, that's what this is pointing to. He does a really good job. The Buddha does a really good job of making the student do the hard work. The Buddha often, or great teachers, will try to confuse the student by telling them something that the student cannot agree with, in order to draw on the student's actual experience with Supreme Bodhi in order to answer the question. So I think that's what's happening here for sure. But I mean, those who have experienced Supreme Bodhi and can experience Supreme Bodhi and understand what, Supreme Bodhi is, see clearly what they're talking about. So again, it goes back to that. But anyway, that's my input. Thank you so much.
Sorry. Thank you.
Also, emancipation is the immovable Dharma. It is in contrast to enmity, and friendliness, which do not exist in true emancipation. Also, immovability can be likened to a chakravartin. There will be no one who will befriend him, none becomes his friend. That the king has no friend can be likened to true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. The Tathagata is Dharma. Also, the immovable may be contrasted with white cloth, which can easily be dyed. It is not thus with emancipation. Also, this immovable may be likened to Varsiki, also making it smell badly and blue in color is impossible. The same with emancipation. Try as we might, we cannot make it smell badly or change color. For this reason, emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is what is rare. There is nothing rare, for example, about a water lily growing in water. When it grows in fire, this is something rare. People see this and are gladdened. What is rare can be likened to true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. This Tathagata is the Dharma body. Also, rare may be compared with a baby. It has no teeth, but as it grows up, these appear. It is not so with emancipation. There is no birth and no non-birth.
Also, emancipation is what is empty and quiet. There can be no indefiniteness by indefinite. By indefinite is meant the situation of saying that the ekchantika never shifts, and that one committing grave offenses never attains Buddhahood. Such can never apply. Why not? When that person gains pristine faith in the Buddha's wonderful Dharma, at that time the person annihilates the ekkantika. On becoming an upasaka, the ekkantika dies away. The person who has committed grave offenses also attains Buddhahood when his sins have been expiated. Thus, we can never say that there is no shifting at all, and that no Buddhahood can be attained. With true emancipation, there can be no such case of annihilation. Also, emptiness and quietude are things of the Dharma world. The nature of the Dharma world is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, once the ekkantika has died out, we can no more talk of the ekkantika.
What is an ekkantika? An ekkantika cuts off all the roots of good deeds, and his mind does not call forth any association with good. Not even a bit of a thought of good arises. Nothing such as this ever occurs in true emancipation. As there is nothing of this kind, we say true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is called immeasurable. For example, we can measure the volume of cereal, but true emancipation is not like this. It is like the great ocean, whose volume we cannot measure. Emancipation is like that. We cannot measure. True emancipation is immeasurable. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, true emancipation is called immeasurable. It is like the varied karma results which a single person has. The same is the case with emancipation. It has innumerable returns. Innumerable returns means true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is wide and great, and like the great sea. to which nothing is equal. The same with emancipation. Nothing can be its equal. What has no equal is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is the highest. It is like the firmament, which is the highest, with nothing coming to be its equal. The same is the case with emancipation. What is the highest and incomparable is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is the impassable. It is like the den of a lion, before which no animal dares pass. The same, too, is the case with emancipation. No one can well pass through it. What is impassable is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is the uppermost. For example, north is the highest of all directions. The same is also the case with emancipation. Nothing surpasses it. Whatever is uppermost is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is the up of the uppermost. For example, compared with the east, north is the uppermost. The same with emancipation. Nothing surpasses it. What is the uppermost is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is the law of constancy. For example, when a man's or deva's body breaks up, life departs. This is always so. It is not non-constant. It is the same with emancipation. It is not non-constant. When what is not non-constant is emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
There's clearly a theme here of boundlessness, never ending, making it very clear what he's trying to say. I just thought that was very, very cool.
Yeah, the repetition.
Also, emancipation is the strongly abiding. It is as in the case of the Kadira, sandalwood, and the aloewood, whose quality is strength and faithfulness. The same with emancipation. Its quality is strength and faithfulness. Whatever is strong and faithful is emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is not empty. For example, the body of bamboo and reed is empty inside. This is not the case with emancipation, knowing that emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is what cannot be defiled. For example, there is a wall. While the upper coating is still not finished, mosquitoes and gadflies come and rest and play on it. When it is painted and finished with pictures and decorated with sculptures, the insects, sensing the smell of the paint, do not stay on it. True emancipation may be likened to such non-staying. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is unboundedness. Villages and towns all have boundaries. This is not so with emancipation. It is like space, which has no boundaries. Emancipation of such kind is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is what cannot be seen. It is just as the tracks of birds that flew across the sky cannot be traced. What is unable to be seen as such can well be likened to true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, extremely deep is what the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas look up to. A dutiful son serves his parents, and the virtue thereof is extremely deep. It is so. Extremely deep refers to emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is what one cannot see. For example, a man cannot see the top of his own head. The same is the case with emancipation. Travakas and Pratyeka Buddhas cannot see. What cannot be seen is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is the houseless. This is as in the case of the void, which has no house. The same with emancipation. The house refers to the 25 existences. Houseless is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
So it's not any one place, it's everywhere. Always. And also, emancipation is what cannot be held in one's hand. The Amaleka can certainly be held in a man's hand. Not so emancipation. It cannot be held in one's hand. Whatever cannot be held in one's hand is emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is what one cannot grasp in one's hand. This is as in the case of a phantom, which one cannot grasp in one's hand. The same also with emancipation. Whatever is not possible to grasp in one's hand is emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. I'm going to step out for a minute. You mind continuing to read? You're back.
Also, emancipation has no carnal body. For example, one has a body on and in which can come about, such as the pox, leprosy, all kinds of carbuncles, craziness, and dryings up. In true emancipation, no such diseases and illnesses come about. What is without such like diseases and illnesses is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, emancipation is oneness of taste. It is like milk, which is one in its taste. The same with emancipation, which is one in its taste. Such oneness in taste is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, emancipation is purity. This is as in the case of water which has no mud. It is clear, unmoving, and pure. The same with emancipation. It is clean, unmoving, and pure. Whatever is clean, unmoving, and pure is true emancipation. And true emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, emancipation is single in taste. It is like the rain in the sky, which is one in taste and pure. That which is one in taste and is pure can be likened to true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, emancipation is exclusion. It is like the full moon that does not have any clouded part. So goes it with emancipation. It has no clouded part. What has no clouded part is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, emancipation is quietude. A man has a fever. When cured, he feels quiet. Emancipation is thus. One feels quiet. When one feels quiet, there is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Oh, Also, true emancipation is equalness. For example, a field has poisonous serpents, rats, and wolves, all of which mean to kill the others. It is not so with emancipation. There is no thought of killing. Having no thought of killing is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, equalness may be compared to the minds of parents who view their children all equally. Thus is emancipation. The mind is all equal. This all equal mind is true emancipation, and true emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is not having any other place. For example, there is a man here who only lives in the best of all places, having no other place to live in. The same with emancipation. It has no other place to live in. Having no other different place to live in is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is feeling satisfied. Take the case of a hungry man who, on encountering sweet dishes, devours them, and there is no end of eating. The case of emancipation is not like this. If one partakes of milk-cooked porridge, one no longer feels the need to eat. No longer feeling any need to eat may well be likened to emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
That's interesting. Satisfaction, notice, is kind of a big. I mean, it's a big thing that can be difficult to root out, right? Relying on satisfaction, and the expectations. I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Satisfaction is not emancipation.
I know. I was commenting on this is interesting to me because a lot of times, external satisfaction is our one of the biggest things that we mistake our well-being for. And so I find it interesting that, he partakes of the food and he no longer feels the need to eat. So it speaks to what is proper use. Your hand is up still. Is that old or new?
I'm still undecided. Yeah, like you're saying, to eat for the purposes of sustaining the body, but not for the purpose of satisfying a desire. Yeah.
Right.
So there's that. Now my hand's down. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Also, I'm sorry. Did you have something you wanted to say? I don't want to cut you off, Robert.
Oh, do I?
I just didn't want to cut you off if you were going to say something.
I guess I can just keep supporting your idea. This idea of satiation is, yeah, it's easy to mistake for your well-being because, oh, I feel good, I feel better, oh, I must be all right then. But it has, because in my own life, I've seen it where chasing after the satisfaction, no matter what it may be, it is rarely the true answer. It's more like a symptom of the true.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you see my hand?
yes.
Oh, sorry. I didn't.
No, it's cool. So you said about chasing after satiation, indeed. I want people to understand there are two separate things that are happening. So if you're hungry and you eat and you feel better because you're not suffering anymore, that is one thing. The other thing is the inner conversation you have about it as thought. So to view eating, and using food appropriately, it would be to notice the thoughts associated with using. So if I eat because I have desire for something and I feel satiated, that inner conversation is truly going to be about, guess what? Oh, that was good. That tasted good. I feel better now. And so all of those conditions occurring in the mind are the limiter. That is the effort. That is the difference between knowing what is proper usage of food to satisfy the hunger of the body, and what is the inappropriate usage of food for the desire of sensation.
Mm.
But it's a very, very hard thing to, to root out. Is a deeply based, attachment to sensations in any case. And it's not to say that we couldn't use sensations and enjoy them if we'd so choose. The difference here is emancipation. So, the opposite of emancipation is imprisonment or slave. So we're a slave to our desires, or a slave to sensations. Then we meet those sensations in order to feel liberated. Whereas this is helping us to understand that it has nothing to do with the satiation of sensuality. Our liberation has everything only to do with our thoughts. And so it's about handing the key to a prisoner and saying, set yourself free. You don't need to be a prisoner of your desires, because you're already free if you can stop the thinking of a condition and it being the reason for your for your happiness. It's and it's not to say that one can't be happy by the things they consume, but it's entirely different if you're a prisoner. If you're a prisoner, then that's pretty hard, because anybody can say, I can deny myself that thing I really want. Like, I'd love to have some chocolate covered cherries, especially around Christmas. But I know they cause me, great physical harm, and the desire itself could compel me to be imprisoned, to cause my body to suffer. And I would be wrongly using those chocolate covered cherries to imprison my body to suffering in order to satisfy a sensuality. And so this idea that, if someone take the chocolate covered cherries away from me and I will truly be emancipated, has absolutely nothing to do with the practice of Supreme Bodhi. That may work in an environment where you're in a hospital and you need to, get counseling or whatever, and that's fine. But as soon as you're back to your own ways, what are you gonna do? You go buy out a case of chocolate covered cherries. I mean, that's what I would do. If my body wasn't did not benefit. No, so that would not be eating for the meeting the needs of the body at all. That would be eating to meet the needs of what I believed was my well-being according to sensuality. And that's the difference here. And if you look carefully at it, if someone said, here, have a plate full of romaine, or romaine lettuce, or have a plate full of blueberries or something, or some good green beans, would I choose those over chocolate covered cherries? Only only if I understand where my true well-being exists, and that is in the thinking. It's the thoughts. If I compare and say, oh, green beans they don't taste very good, but chocolate covered cherries taste really good. That's all thought. That is all thought. Has absolutely nothing to do with meeting the needs of the body at all.
Yeah.
And so that imprisonment by our thoughts about the conversation we have based on our desires is that question here. That's the effort. But anyway, that's my input. I hope.
And it's funny because when you bring it up, it brings like this, it's that prompt that brings other things to mind. Well, so I'm thinking about how, like, a lot of times, especially with things like satisfaction from eating, I don't understand the cues of my body. I don't know what hunger feels like versus what pain feels like inside the body. Like, if you're in pain because something you ate isn't good for you, I have the tendency to feel like if I call that hunger, now it's 10 times worse. And it's funny how, like, when it's called hunger, you're starving to death and you need to eat something right away. And it's like that's your mind trying to get some kind of satisfaction out of eating.
Well,
But if you
trying
have
to
the
cause it.
same kind of pain after you eat, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. It's funny how, like, that perception of getting satisfaction can change the sensation.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, the thinking that if I can only get satisfaction, the pain won't be so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not true emancipation, because that actually feeds back into the imprisonment.
Well, it's kind of like when you're sitting in meditation and, like, you like when you first start out, and you don't want to do it, everything hurts. And then your back hurts and your legs hurt and your arms hurt, um and it's like that's all kind of the same thing. It's a discomfort caused by the mind because the mind doesn't want to do it.
Right. The mind thinks there's a choice.
Right.
If given the choice, if I could eat chocolate covered cherries over green beans, I would choose chocolate covered cherries every time. I mean, but I
You'd
mean,
have gave you stomach ache. No.
yeah, I have got to be in control of that decision, and I've got to see clearly whether or not using chocolate covered cherries in that way is feeding the body. I mean, is it really feeding the body? Maybe it is. Maybe if they're organic cherries that haven't been washed, and it's organic chocolate that is, sourced from, free, free trade and all those wonderful things. Yeah, maybe chocolate covered cherry might be a wonderful thing, but it's not about the sugar really. It's about the reaction to the contaminants that are in the stupid chocolate covered cherries that are so bad and cause so
Yeah.
much pain to the body. So it's not about vilifying chocolate covered cherries by any stretch of the imagination. It's about identifying that, I want to have something that is clearly not good for me, not because it's sugary, but because it contains everything that I react to, you know, and it could be cherries. Maybe I crave Rainier cherries when they come in, and every time I eat them, I have the allergic reaction, and just because I crave them doesn't mean they're a good thing. And so there's a very, very clear component here of that thinking. I will feel better if I consume these you know, um, because that's what I desire. And I'm going to feel satiated after I, consume them. And again, that's all not emancipation, and
Right.
but anyway, and it's everything. It's everything. This idea of emancipation doesn't just mean food. It means everything, everything. I mean, if you live in close proximity to a neighbor and your neighbor does something you don't like, that's that's not emancipation either. Yet it's still not about allowing them to cause you pain and suffering either. So yeah, but anyway, proceed.
Yeah.
Um,
Something, I mean, talking about proper use with food and stuff. I mean, that's a big topic for us in a very personal way. But, like, my reflection is normally when I eat for that kind of satisfaction, it's the memory of experiencing the sensation of eating what I want to eat. It's more for the memory of happiness and the memory of comfort from when I've eaten it in the past. So you could see how improper use is eating for the purpose of chasing that feeling, but proper use could be something like neurodegenerative diseases, and maybe that sort of thing is very therapeutic for helping the brain recover because it's a memory thing. So it's more about your thinking. It's more about proper use versus not eating the chocolate covered cherries just because you're not going to let that win or whatever. It's about your thinking about the chocolate covered cherries more than anything else.
Well, and only if they don't, only if they don't, they don't qualify as something that doesn't cause an allergic reaction. So if I could find a chocolate covered cherry that doesn't cause an allergic reaction, then I'm going to consume it. But I need to be careful, not to consume too many of them. But thankfully, there is no such thing. So I don't even need to try.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the satisfaction of, I know that we have this happen a lot. The satisfaction of I know that this is safe to eat, and then finding out that it's not, depending on the batch. I'm right now struggling with a bad allergic reaction, and it was actually, ironically, to the food that you made, and this is all new because I didn't realize I was reacting until just I'm struggling to talk, I'm struggling to think and read. Yeah, when I walked out. And it's funny how even that can be satisfaction. It's like I know it's safe, and because I know it's safe, I'm getting some kind of satisfaction. And then when things like this happen and they're not safe, it's very it's really just devastating. And it's the same thing. It's the emancipation has to be complete,
Yeah, whether you react or not.
Right.
And you do your best to use things wisely so that there's no reaction. But in the same regard, when that idea of having that expectation, yeah, indeed. And I mean, if anybody has any questions about our dietary problems, you're more than welcome to talk to us about it privately. I don't go into that now, but yeah, we're pretty stacked on odds against us for allergic reactions. So we're like a case study in what is everything genetically wrong with humanity. So,
Yeah, well, honestly, this could also be a reaction to airborne. It could be I pulled out some old candles. We're using some old candles that we don't normally use. Could be the
oh, that's it.
incense.
Oh, that's it. That
That's
yeah.
probably
Don't
more likely
yeah.
than the food you made.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
you really shouldn't have touched the candles, Jasmine.
Sorry.
You know better than that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bad. They give out volatiles. The nature of candles is to exude that fragrance, and in doing so, they create these airborne volatiles that you take in. That's why you
No,
smell them.
I meant the altar candles.
Oh, the altar candles won't do it because they don't have any. Oh, maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out because I had to pull out some older candles because we ran out of the new candles. And anyway, I'm still in the process of trying to figure out what I could be reacting to right now. But that's, kind of not so
It's
much
far.
on the topic of the
Yeah.
sutra study. So
Right.
point
Yeah.
back.
Right. So, but the idea that your well-being is dependent upon never having a reaction again,
Yeah.
that might be more. But anyway, I've said my piece. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Also, emancipation is segregation. It is like a person tied up who cuts the rope and gains his freedom. The same is the case with emancipation. One cuts off all the bonds of doubt. Such cutting off of all the bonds of doubt is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is gaining the other shore. A big river, for example, has this shore and the yonder shore. It is not thus with emancipation. Although it does not have this side, there is the yonder shore. What has this other shore is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is silence. The surface of a great sea swells, for example, and there arise many sounds. With emancipation, things are not so. Emancipation such as this is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is the all-wonderful. If haritaki is added to any medicine, that medicine will come to taste bitter. But emancipation is not like this. It becomes sweet. The taste of sweetness can be likened to true emancipation.
Also, emancipation makes away with all illusions. This may be likened to the case of a learned doctor who mixes up all drugs and cures all illnesses. The same is also the case with emancipation. It thoroughly makes away with illusion. What makes away with illusion is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation has no oppressiveness. For example, a small house cannot take in many people. The case is otherwise with emancipation, which can take in many. What takes in many is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is, I'm struggling with that word again.
Analogous.
Analogous, thank you, to annihilating all loving casts of mind and not having carnal appetites. A female has many phases of love. This is not so with emancipation. Emancipation of this kind is the Tathagata. The Tathagata does not possess such illusions as greed, anger, ignorance, or arrogance, etc.
Also, emancipation is lovelessness. Love is of two kinds. One is hungry love, and the other love of Dharma. True love is not possessed of hungry love. As there is love for all beings, there is the love of Dharma. Such love of Dharma is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
And the love of Dharma, I would liken to our unconditional loving kindness, right? Where the hungry love is conditional.
No?
Also, emancipation is not possessed of atmatmiya. Such emancipation is the Tathagata. The Tathagata is Dharma.
Also, emancipation is extinction. It is removed from all kinds of greed. Such emancipation is the Tathagata. The Tathagata is Dharma.
Also, emancipation is succoring. Succoring? Yeah,
Succoring.
succoring. It thoroughly succors. I'm having trouble. All those who have fear. I think it's succor. Like a tree suckers. Such emancipation is the Tathagata. The Tathagata is Dharma. Kind of curious. I don't think that's the first time that word's come up. So, where's the pronunciation? Succring. It means to give aid.
Okay.
Interesting. All right, sorry.
Also, emancipation is the place to which one returns. One who partakes of such emancipation does not seek any other place to take refuge in. For example, a man who depends on the king does not look for other kings to depend on. Yet, even when one depends on the king, there can be a situation in which change comes about. For one who depends upon emancipation, there is no change anymore. Where there is no change, there is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation is fearlessness. It is like the lion who has no fear of any beast. The same is the case with emancipation. It has no fear of any maras. Fearlessness is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Also, emancipation knows no narrowness. On a narrow path, two persons cannot walk. It is not thus with emancipation. Such emancipation is the Tathagata. Also, there is the case of non-narrowness. For example, a man falls into a well just because of his fear of a tiger. The situation with emancipation is not like this. Such emancipation is the Tathagata. Again, there is the case of non-narrowness. On a great sea, one abandons a small wrecked ship, sailing in a strong ship. One crosses the sea and arrives at the place, and one's mind is blessed with peace. The same is the case with emancipation. The mind is happy. The attainment of happiness is true emancipation. True emancipation is the Tathagata.
Okay. I think now is a good time to stop so we have enough time for our Sangha sharing or Dhamma Paramita. So I'm going to mark this as the end point and then just take a minute or two to think about what you're going to share.